You know what time of the year it is. It's Oscar season. I figured since I made my 2023 video that I may as well do my Oscar video next before too much time has passed in the next year. Like I said in my last video, 2023 had a lot of really good films, and it was probably the most creative year I could remember since the pandemic. There's a whole topic about what I could talk about with the Oscars and award shows in generals, but that's probably for another video. This video I'm just gonna be talking about my picks for who I think should win each of the Oscars in each category, and who I think probably will ultimately win. I'll probably do categories in the order of least familiar or comfortable with to most comfortable with, familiar with, just so that I give categories that don't always get a lot of attention at the start, and then the more well-known categories at the end, just to play it fair. Plus, I haven't really looked at all these categories in detail and full, so I'm just gonna be going through these one by one, just giving my thoughts and my predictions and my picks, just to see where we're at. That's basically what this video is gonna be about. Pretty simple. Let's just go. Live action short film, I haven't seen the middle three. I haven't seen Red, White, and Blue, Night of Fortune, or Invincible. The After I thought was pretty okay, but Henry Sugar I think is just gonna win. And that's also my pick. So yeah, I've been trying to catch up with my documentaries for the last week or so. I haven't gone to all of them. I've seen three of these documentary short films. I did like ABC's A Book Banning a lot. Island in Between was pretty solid. Last Repair Shop was also very good. Honestly, I'd say my pick would probably be ABC's A Book Banning, but I think their Last Repair Shop will ultimately win. That's my prediction. Documentary feature film, I've only seen two of them. I've seen Eternal Memory and 20 Days in Mariupol. I don't really know what the others are about, so I don't really have an informed decision. But if I had to choose, my pick would be 20 Days in Mariupol, and that will also be my prediction because that is a pretty historic documentary. I have a general idea what the others are about. Mariupol, I think, is going to win ultimately for its historic value and for the cinematography and its depiction of war. I think it's pretty good. It was very depressing when I saw it, and it just kind of stuck with me than the others did. Or at least I think they will when I do see them. So yeah, for animated short film, I haven't seen a lot of these. I have only really seen I've never seen any of these movies. I have no idea what any of these movies are about. I don't know how long they are. I just don't know this category at all as of recording this thing. So I'm just gonna say my pick, I guess, will be Letter to a Pig, and then I'm gonna predict 95 Cents is actually gonna win the thing. Yeah, we'll see. Animated feature film, I've seen three of them. I haven't seen Nimona or Robot Dreams, but I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is still ultimately gonna win, I believe, and it's also gonna be my pick. So yeah, that's my decision. Sound is an interesting list. I haven't seen Maestro or the creator, but I know that the creator's been nominated for visual effects too, so that makes me think that its futuristic sound is pretty good. Maestro sound for its orchestra stuff is really good, I've heard. Mission Impossible: The Reckoning, I suppose there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff that I could tell with that movie. Oppenheimer was really good, I think. I mean, you could really tell that the practical effects in there were practical and not VFX. I think you could feel the vibrations in the theater that you watched it in. And honestly, it kind of fell to the screen when I watched it on my phone when I rewatched it a few times. But Zone of Interest has, I think, one of the better ones, honestly, because for as little as what was going on in the film, like for the duration of the film, there was always that very uneasy feeling, and that was amplified by the sound in the background. You didn't have to see what was going on in the background, you knew what was going on, just because of the atmosphere and the sound. The sound was a big player in what made you feel uneasy about the family in this film. But I think I'm still gonna go with Oppenheimer for my pick. But I do have to say it is pretty impressive what Zone of Interest did with this sound, so I'm gonna say my prediction will be Zone of Interest. For music, I think all these songs are pretty good, but I think What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish for Barbie was really good. I'm Just Ken but from Ryan Gosling was really good for Barbie. My pick's gonna be What Was I Made For from Billie Eilish for Barbie, but I think ultimately my prediction's gonna be I'm Just Ken for Barbie by Ryan Gosling, and I think that's actually gonna win the Oscar. So yeah, when it comes to score, I think there's a clear winner. I mean, John Williams is the obvious legend out of the group, but I think Ludwig Göransson was he nailed it out of the park with this freaking film. I think a big part of the film, why it did so well, was because of his score and his composition. It was just unmatched. Like, don't get me wrong, the iconic score of the Indiana Jones movies are just so good and so iconic. It's so unmistakable. I mean, when you're talking about the score alone, it's so good. Like, I could hear that on repeat and I would not really get bored of it. The Poor Things score by Fendrix was really good as well. I mean, that was very ominous and haunting, and just like, I don't know, it felt like very dreamy but also very real, because it kind of isn't really a dream in our world. It's just kind of like reality, and it's just kind of sad. But with Garanson's score for Oppenheimer, it was really good. It had that feel to where is reality, the dangers of what the film's trying to talk about. There's also so much beauty in it. Like, his whole soundtrack on Spotify, I listened to a few times. It was like, each song was just so heartfelt, so masterfully placed in the movie to where it was needed. You could hear the score about Oppenheimer's academic journey. I can hear that right now in my head. The whole build up to the Trinity test, his score for that was amazing. Like, I don't know, dude. Goranson, it was just so good. Like, he's gonna be my pick and my prediction for this music original score category, and that is that. So yeah, here's to you, Ludwig. Visual effects. I haven't seen the creator, like I said before, but I heard their VFX was really good. I gotta say, Godzilla is probably gonna be my pick right up the gate, because considering their budget was so puny, like, for them to achieve what they did with how the film looked was just amazing. Guardian 3 was very colorful, spectacular. I feel like it might have been too much, honestly, for what this category is trying to impress upon the audience. Mission Impossible also pretty solid, although I don't think it's anything too special. Honestly, I'd say Napoleon 2. It was pretty good. It wasn't really a whole lot of standout with the VFX, but it was still pretty good. I don't really know a lot about the creator because I haven't seen it, but I heard it's really good. When I was in the theater watching -1, when the destruction was happening, like, it was unlike anything I'd seen before. Even though I've seen that kind of destruction before in other movies, it was just done in a different way, and I could really see it being a reality. I mean, the VFX work on Godzilla himself were just a little stiff, but I think that's why their shots around Godzilla and the destruction that it caused was why they focused away from the Godzilla movement, because, like, it wasn't like terrible, it was still very obvious to what the limitations were to Godzilla, but for the amount of stuff that Godzilla was doing to the world was so damn impressive. I think I'm gonna go with Godzilla for my pick, but ultimately, like, I'm not gonna lie, ultimately I don't think it's gonna win the actual Oscar. I think they're gonna give it to Guardians 3. They're gonna give Marvel one, I think. As much as I would like Napoleon to get some recognition for their practical effects and their VFX, or for creator, as a unique film as it is, I think Guardians 3 is actually gonna win the thing, but I'm still gonna go and root for Godzilla -1 because that film rocked. I probably know the least about makeup and hairstyling and costume design. I don't know why I didn't put those first. This isn't the exact list, so forgive me. I didn't see Maestro or Golda or Society of the Snow. I've only seen Oppenheimer and Poor Things, but from what I could tell, Poor Things and Oppenheimer were the clear standouts with a lot of these categories. I mean, for Oppenheimer, the makeup and hairstyling for how old or how young the characters were, considering this film spanned 60 years, was so good. Like, I could see the actors in them still, but, like, I could also see the characters more than the actual actors, and I could tell that a lot of time has passed with these characters. But I think Poor Things did a better job in general, because that film had probably the most beautiful shots out of any film of last year, and it's so character focused and atmosphere focused that, like, the hairstyling and the makeup shined when they were doing close-ups on the characters. Like, you could really feel their emotion with what you were looking at them with, and how they came across the camera with how they appeared. It made a huge difference in how Poor Things was interpreted. So as much as I haven't seen the other three, I'd say Poor Things is my pick, and I honestly think they're going to win the Oscar, so I'm also going to predict they win. Costume design, it's a very diverse category. There's a very diverse category for these picks. Like, Barbie had a lot of pink color with its costume design, but it was also so vibrant when it came to the Ken characters. Like, they had all sorts of costumes on, and then with the Barbie characters all pink, but all different types of representation for them. And then they had the typical American. It had the typical American clothes when they went to the real world, and business attire. It's just kind of like, oh sure, you know, there's a big difference there. But it was still pretty good. Because the Flower Moon is very representative to the Osage people, and they did not hold back with their costume design. So that was really good on their part. Napoleon had it seemed pretty period accurate costume attire, and for how well documented the Napoleon era was, they did a pretty good job with the costume design. I mean, it was very extravagant, very elegant, so I'd say they did a good job there. Oppenheimer, also a nice, very good period piece, more modern, and also just more well documented, but also really good. But I think this is going to be another Poor Things win in my book, honestly. It was so unique. It takes place in a historical period, but it has a different spin on it, to where the clothes you see the characters wearing isn't as distinctive or as I don't know, as generic as you think they are. Like, they're all different, and they all I don't know, it does a better job with character design in my book. So I think my pick is going to be Poor Things, and I think they're also going to win this Oscar. Production design has a few standouts. I mean, I think Barbie and Killers are the standouts for this category. Napoleon 2, honestly, but I don't think they're going to win. Oppenheimer had really good production design, and so did Poor Things. I think ultimately, though, I think Barbie had the most impressive production design. I think the standouts in production design are going to be Napoleon, Barbie, and Killers of the Flower Moon. Oppenheimer and Poor Things had really good production design too, don't get me wrong, but I think for how much of an atmosphere it produced, I think Barbie and Napoleon specifically had really excellent production design. But ultimately, I honestly think, okay, Barbie had a atmosphere unlike any other film of last year. However, Napoleon had really good on-screen presence in terms of the environment and how the characters interacted in that environment. Like, there wasn't one scene in that whole film where I felt it was out of touch or misguided or misfilmed or whatever. It was really good. Like, it knew what it was doing. Ridley Scott is a good filmmaker, and period pieces, maybe it's his new forte. I don't know. It was really, I don't know. It was very impressive. Like, there was a whole world lived in with that production design for Napoleon. And I'd say the same thing for Barbie, but I feel like you could feel that more so with Napoleon. Kills the Flower Moon also had really good, but I don't think it lived up to what Napoleon did. My pick's gonna be Napoleon for production design, although I think Barbie's ultimately gonna win, just because the sheer amount of celebration that the Barbie Land place had. It was really cool. Like it was very flashy, and you just couldn't look away from it. Really, it was all just everywhere. So I think Napoleon will be my pick, and Barbie will be my prediction. Okay, international feature film. Ooh, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen any of these films except for Zone of Interest. But I have heard a lot of good things about Society of the Snow and Perfect Days. I have the feeling, or at least the sense, that Perfect Days is a bit of a standout, as well as Society of the Snow. Although I know that Zone of Interest has garnered a lot of attention. It has a very ominous atmosphere when you think about it, like especially when you rewatch the film, and you know that you just focus in on some things, some details that you didn't really pick up on the first time. Like it is pretty haunting. It's just that Zone of Interest didn't do a lot for me as a film in general, although I think it probably will win the Oscar. So I don't know. I don't really have a real pick for this category per se. I mean, I have an interest to see Perfect Days and Society of the Snow. I mean, I have heard good things about this Perfect Days, so I suppose if anything that'll be my pick, even though I haven't seen it before. But I think ultimately Zone of Interest is going to win the Oscar. Cinematography has a few interesting picks here. I haven't seen Le Conde, so I'm not sure about that one. Kills of the Flower Moon had pretty good cinematography. Maestro appears to have good cinematography. I haven't seen Maestro either, but Oppenheimer, Poor Things, man. Those two had really good for cinematography. I think though, if it's between those two, I think Poor Things wins. Like I think every shot in Poor Things was remarkable. In combination with its production and costume design, it made the world feel so unique. It was like a dreamland, but also felt like a real world. Like it's our world, but like just a little different, but not too different. It was really spectacular. And of course Oppenheimer had really good cinematography all over the place. Like there wasn't a shot in the whole film that I felt was misplaced or unnecessary or anything. I just think that Poor Things just did a slightly better job when it came to cinematography. Ultimately though, Oppenheimer will win the Oscar, although I think Poor Things does deserve to win. So Poor Things my pick, Oppenheimer prediction. The acting categories have a lot going on in them. So I'm going to start with the actress categories and then move on to the actor categories. This is also a very heavy category. I think Danielle Brooks was a good stand-up in The Color Purple, and I heard Jodie Foster was a good standout in Nyad. Although American Ferrera was really good in Barbie, Emily Blunt was amazing in Oppenheimer. I think Randolph's gonna be my pick because that film was so beloved, so good, so just I don't know. There's so many good things happening in The Holdovers. It was, oh, man, I cannot wait to watch it again. Like I think Javine Joy Randolph, apart from Paul Giamatti's character, was my favorite character in that movie. Like she was going through so much in that film. You could identify with her every step of the way in her character arc. It was, I don't know. It was so good. Like my goodness. Emily Blunt was also amazing in Oppenheimer. Like there's so many layers to her character. Like I don't really appreciate how tragic her character is. Like she is like I didn't really even realize that she was a scientist after my first 2 viewings of the film. It only had to take me 3 watches to understand that like this whole time she is a scientist. She's not just some household wife. Like she has a doctorate. She's a renowned biologist, but she just decided to sacrifice all that and raise Oppenheimer's family and be by his side when he was going through some stuff. So I don't know. Like Emily Blunt did a really good job in that role. But honestly, I'd say Da'Vine Joy Randolph is gonna be my pick. And for my prediction, I don't think the Oscars are gonna appreciate Emily Blunt enough with her role. So I'm gonna say Da'Vine Joy Randolph is also my prediction. Let's see. I haven't seen Maestro or Nyad, although I heard that Carey Mulligan was very good in Maestro, and I heard some good things about Annette Bening and Nyad. Lily Glad. I mean, this is probably the hardest category out of any of them because Lily Gladstone was so good in Killers of the Flower Moon. Sandra Huller was amazing in Anatomy of a Fall, and Emma Stone was remarkable in Poor Things. Like, I don't want to pick one because all of them were amazing. Like, I can think of like a few iconic scenes from each of these actresses, and like I will rewatch these scenes again and again because they were that good. It pains me to pick one because I know that they all deserve the Oscar. Honestly, if I have to choose one, I honestly have to say Lily Gladstone. I think she put up the best performance, although it is very close. Like they're all so good. I think ultimately for the Oscar, I think they're gonna go for Emma Stone. I am not gonna lie. I think they're gonna go for Emma Stone for the for actress in leading role. But yeah, Lily Gladstone for my pick, and Emma Stone will be my prediction. Actor in a supporting role. Okay, actor in a supporting role. There's a lot going on here. So Sterling K. Brown was amazing in American Fiction. Like he was very underrated, I'd say. Robert De Niro was great in Killers. Like, oh, man, you know what you're gonna get from Robert De Niro in that film. Like, you can just sense it. Like it was great. Robert Downey Jr. was so good. Like I didn't even see a lot of what he was doing in that film until like my second or third viewing. Like it was spectacular. Ryan Gosling put up a heck of a performance in Barbie. Like it was pretty good. It was very funny. He was very charismatic. Very musical. Like there was a lot of sides to him I didn't see before in Barbie. And then Mark Ruffalo, man, like if there's any actor who really showcases their range, it's Mark Ruffalo out of the bunch. Like, wow. I haven't seen Mark Ruffalo act in this way ever. Or I'd probably even say Robert Downey Jr. in this kind of way. But I think there's more new stuff with Mark Ruffalo than with Robert Downey Jr. So honestly, my pick's gonna be Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, but I think Robert Downey Jr. is gonna win the Oscar ultimately. Actor in a leading role. Actor in a leading role, there's a few standouts. I think Paul Giamatti and Cillian Murphy are the clear standouts, I'd say. I heard Bradley Cooper was amazing in Maestro. Coleman Domingo, I felt was pretty good in Rustin. And Jeffrey Wright, also just really good in American Fiction. I think the big battle, though, is going to be between Giamatti and Murphy. Although, okay, I like both of these roles so much. Like, I want to pick both of them. They were both so good in their own right. Like, I want them both to win. If I have to pick one, though, I'd have to probably pick Cillian Murphy. And then probably they're going to give it to Cillian Murphy. So, I want to pick Giamatti. I just think like Murphy had a lot more to work with, and he really pulled it off. Like I could really feel the dread that he knew the world was gonna succumb to, and that he knows the role he played and having the world go in that direction. So I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna stick with that. Cillian Murphy for my pick and prediction. Let's move on. Film editing, I've always kind of found interesting. I think Oppenheimer, though, was going to be the clear winner here. I think my pick right out of the gate is going to be Oppenheimer. Like, the amount of effort it took to cut between probably 4 different timelines, so many layers in Oppenheimer, it was crazy. So I think for the amount of effort that went into editing Oppenheimer, I think it deserves the Oscar. And ultimately, I do think it's gonna win the Oscar. Like, I think the others did a really good job too. I think Killers is put up a really good fight, and so did Poor Things. I just think Oppenheimer just did such a good job. It's gonna win, I think, clearly. For adapted screenplay, if Oppenheimer wasn't based on the book, like, it probably just, like, wow, it would not win this one. But, like, I think because it was based on real events and also based off a book, it's probably going to win adapted screenplay. I think Poor Things also did such a good job. Like, I didn't really know it was based on a book until afterwards, so also probably amazing. And then Zone of Interest also did a lot of good things too. I don't know, dude. Like, I think Oppenheimer and Poor Things, again, like, they were so good. I think for the subject material that was presented, both in Oppenheimer and Poor Things, they both deserve the Oscar. Like, there's so many good ones. I don't know, man. Like, I think because Oppenheimer was based on real life, and then Poor Things was based, I mean, it's a fictional tale, but, you know, still really explores so many good themes. My picks, I think, is going to be Oppenheimer for this one, and ultimately, I think it's going to win adapted screenplay. Although I really do think Poor Things also deserves the Oscar just as much. I just think that Oppenheimer did a few things better than Poor Things. I don't know. I think Oppenheimer slightly, for my taste, is going to be my pick, but I think ultimately it will win the Oscar for this one. So yeah. This is also a loaded category. So I think I haven't seen Maestro, but apart from that, I think all of these are just amazing original screenplays by all these people. I mean, like, I think Anatomy of a Fall did a court drama so good, probably the best I've seen. Holdovers just was so feel good, but also had a lot of weight and made you connect with the characters. I haven't seen Maestro, like I said before. May December really got you into the mindset of how messed up the actions were in the past of some of these characters, and then Past Lives was just a magical, explored a romantic theoretical in a very deep and layered way. All these screenplays have great strengths. I'm gonna go with Holdovers for my pick because I think that one really deserves it the most. But ultimately, I think they're probably gonna give it to May December. I mean, there were some, I don't know, the writing in that film was really, really good. I just think that the Academy is just gonna stick with that. Although I do think Holdovers should win, so my pick, Holdovers, prediction, May December. Directing is also a very tough category. I mean, every single one of these directors is, they directed such a good movie last year. It was so good. Like, I honestly would watch all these films again because they were all that good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I might be a little biased here because Christopher Nolan is my favorite director working today. I like Christopher Nolan's style of filmmaking. It makes you think, it makes you really feel for the characters and consider the situations that they're in and how they apply to our world today. And I think a lot of directors do a good job in that same way. I just think Christopher Nolan does it the best, and Oppenheimer is probably his best film. So honestly, my pick is just probably gonna go to Christopher Nolan. Ultimately though, considering these directors, I can see them giving it to Christopher Nolan. I can see them giving it to Martin Scorsese. I can also see them giving it to Yorgos Lanthimos. I think it's probably going to come down between Christopher Nolan and Yorgos Lanthimos. I think they're ultimately going to give it to Nolan, I believe. So my pick and prediction will be Nolan for directing. Now for Best Picture, a category everyone's looking forward to. I mean, all of these films have been nominated in some way or another a few times, so they all have a great amount of depth to them. I enjoyed all of these films. I've watched some of them a few times, even. Oh, let's see. Through the 10 films, they're all so good, man. I don't know. Let's see. Of the top 3, I think probably it'll be Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest, if I'm being honest. As much as I like Holdovers and Barbie to get in on the action, I don't think they're gonna give it to them. Same thing with Maestro. I don't think Maestro is going to have that much of a chance. Killers of the Flower Moon puts up a good battle, although I don't think they're going to give it to them. I think Past Lives definitely should get some recognition. And Barbie and American Fiction also did some things well. I just don't think they live up to what the others did. I mean, Oppenheimer was my favorite film of last year. That's gonna be my pick. Does it win the Oscar though? That's a good question. I want to say it does, although I know that Zone of Interest was looked at a lot. I don't think it's gonna make it though. If it's between Oppenheimer and Poor Things, I think they're gonna give it to Oppenheimer. Like, if it's not Oppenheimer, it'll probably be Poor Things. If not Poor Things, it might be Killers of the Flower Moon. I want to say that. As much as I think the other films in this list also deserve it, I think for the voting pool that the Oscars had for this category, it's gonna come down between Oppenheimer and Poor Things. I was kind of also expecting, like, for the hype that made December good, I thought they were gonna also get a nomination. But alas, my pick is gonna be Oppenheimer, and my prediction, Oppenheimer. So that's the video. Basically, you know my picks, you know my predictions, and I guess we'll see how right or wrong I am in a few weeks. So thank you for watching my video. If you want to check out my Letterboxd with all the movies ranked from last year, go check it out in the description. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.